Hey everybody, welcome to episode 61 of the All JuveCast. And a guest I've been trying to get on for a while finally teed it up. And we got Saeed from the Juve SoCal Club. And how you doing, man?
Good, Al. How are you? Good to be on the podcast. And, like you said, it's been a while. I've been wanting to be on for a while and want to appreciate what you're doing for the Juve fan base online. And, it's good times to be a Juve fan these days.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm doing well despite a little bit of a grind there with Bologna there yesterday. We'll touch on that. We'll do the recap, and we've got more than enough to talk about with Juve here. But real quick, I like to do this with all the guests on their first time. Just like finding out how they became fans of Juve, and I'd like to hear your story, man.
Yeah, I wonder how many of the listeners go as far back as I do. I'm pretty old guy. My Juve story started like in the late 80s, actually in like
Wow.
88, 89. I was about 8 or 9 years old. Back then I lived in Iran, and Serie A in Italian football was very huge back then. It was undoubtedly one of the best leagues in the world, and all the best players were there. And being a young person, I was like slowly getting into it. I was playing all the time, but not really watching. When you're a kid, you're not really watching and following.
Yeah.
So it was like Euro 88 or World Cup 90. Around that era was when I started, actually watching games and getting into it and understanding it. And during those times, just like most people, it starts with a player, right? There's a certain player that you like, or something, or sometimes it's your family that influences you.
Yeah.
For me, it was a little bit of both. I had a cousin who was a huge fan of Italian football, and he was following all the time, so I used to watch with him. And the player that kind of caught my eye as a young kid was Toto Schillaci. I don't know how many people
Nice.
remember him,
Oh, yeah.
but so he had a big year in the '90 World Cup, and it kind of started from there. And it was around the time where Baggio was also coming up. So Baggio was, up
Yeah.
and coming. So I would say Baggio and Schillaci were kind of like the main inspirations. And,
Yeah.
watching the '90 World Cup, it was kind of like, both of them had a good World Cup. Not
That's
not a good ending, but
yeah.
that was when just it kind of caught on from there, and I just became a Juve fan, and then Baggio became huge, and then from there was like Del Piero's and those guys. So yeah,
Yeah.
it goes way back.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And then obviously here you are today, and you are one of the co-founders, I guess, of Juve SoCal official fan club, right? And the other
Yeah,
was Farhad, right? Am I right?
yeah, absolutely. My friend Farhad,
Yeah.
he used to live out here in LA, and he kind of started it with just a Facebook page. And I remember during those times, it was 2011 or so, social media and things were kind of starting to kind of pick up. And I remember I used to always watch games or, World Cup. I remember like 2006 World Cup. I was really trying to find a place to watch the final. And, back then the internet wasn't what it used to be. So I ended up not being able to find a place. I was watching it with like a bunch of people who weren't even football fans.
Yeah.
And so after that, I was kind of like always in a search of like, hey, where can we go watch games, at least big games and stuff. And I just did some simple search online, and I found the Facebook page, which found I created, and I was like, oh, perfect. And it was nearby the house, and we met up, and it was like our first meeting was, and this is before 2012 and all that. So we were like seventh place
Yeah. Yeah.
finishes, so it wasn't good times to be a Juve fan. That's when it was real fans. And
Yeah.
so I met up with him and a couple of other people. It was literally like four or five of us, and we were at this pub. It was an English pub, which they always try to prioritize English football. And
Oh
you're like, oh,
yeah.
can you put Serie A on? Like, oh, yeah, go in that little TV over there. You can watch
I
it.
deal with that all the time, man. All the
Yeah,
time in
yeah.
the small town I'm in. But yeah, no, that's cool. So like you said, there's four or five of you, whatever, and how many strong now?
I mean, it's huge now. I mean, our Facebook itself has over 3,000 followers, but
Wow.
a lot of our followers are, could be not necessarily people from
Yeah.
California. We have people that follow us from everywhere. And what's great is a lot of times when tourists come into town, LA is like a touristy town,
Yeah.
and there's Juve game and they're missing it, and somehow they find us and they're like, oh, perfect, we'll come watch, like Juve
Yeah.
Napoli or something.
And that's
So,
awesome, man. That's really,
yeah, yeah.
really
So,
cool.
so it's been growing. It started slow, but we all started like forming friendships. We play sometimes. We'll have barbecues or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it started getting big, and now the whole Juve community online is pretty strong and pretty in terms of English speaking.
Yeah.
Because that was always what was missing, was that there wasn't many English speaking outlets.
Yeah.
But now, there's tons of Viva podcasts and all
Yeah.
these things going on. So it's amazing. I mean, I think there's room for everybody to get in it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, man. I love it, the fact that there's so much content out there and so many things, and just like the different takes, right, and different views.
Yeah.
Like I love it. And one of my favorite things about doing this is just meeting the UVA fans from just all over the world, and just hearing them out and seeing how they see things, right, differently than my own. And it's cool, right? And I definitely, man, I gotta tee up coming out there and checking out a game with you guys. And you guys kill me when you post with ADP there last season. Just killing me, man. I've got to, like, that's bucket list stuff for me, man.
Yeah, man, that's definitely was an experience of a lifetime, because it was always as a joke when we were having the meetups. And back then Del Piero was his last year, and back then he used to come to LA a lot, and that was his like spot. And we were always like, oh, where do we find Del Piero? Where do we find him? And we were always hoping like, hey, can you come to our meetups and stuff? It just never happened. But then after many years, we kind of got lucky and ran into him, and it's been good.
That's cool, man. Very, very cool. Thanks for sharing all that. Let's get to the match. Yesterday, Bologna, we come out with the 2-1 victory. Bit of a grind, but we'll go through it in halves here and talk about it. The projected lineup. So when you see the initial lineup, I know we had a projected that had the usual suspects. The first one that I saw was Matuidi, Pjanic, Khedira, Bernardeschi in the hole it was all the usual. And right away I'm thinking in my head, are we that worried about Bologna while we're at home that we can't give, say an Emre Can or Rabiot some opportunity, right? And even just maybe Pjanic a rest going into the Champions League group game. I mean, they all come back from international break. But what were your thoughts on that original projection, and then not what was the actual lineup, but just the projection? Were you thinking the same thing, or?
Well, I mean, the online projections, I've learned to kind of not really go off of those, because so many times you see those and they change. I mean, Allegri was huge for that. You would see something and 5 minutes before the game it changes. So I never really look into the projected lineup so much, unless maybe it came from the coach or something. But we do have enough depth to rotate, and it does sometimes. I don't want to be too critical of what the coach decides, but too many times it seems like we play the same cast in certain positions that we have enough depth. Like the midfield, for example. We were at a point where we didn't have much depth, but now that we do, and a lot of these players have pretty hefty salaries, so it's almost like a waste of money to sit these players and not play them. So I mean, I sometimes wish that I would see a little bit more of like switching it up, and you got to let these guys play. I mean, most of them are pretty sort of experienced players, so it's not like you're throwing a brand new kid that's 19 years old. I mean, which we are doing with the Ligt, right?
Yeah.
But if you put an Emre Can instead of a Khedira, it's not gonna be. He's not gonna. Just.
First of all, you won't even tell when it comes to looks. They look identical. So
exactly.
But yeah, no, like I agree. I mean, I wanted to see a little bit of a switch, and then we get the true starting lineup, and Rabiot's in there, which is one of the
Mhm.
guys I was looking for to see how he would perform. And then I was obviously hoping for Berna to build off the recent goals he scored, the one with the Azzurri, and then the one he got with us before the break. So just hoping he could feed off that. And then, we get to the match itself. Obviously, they celebrate Ronaldo reaching 700 goals, which is just ridiculous. Like,
Crazy.
it's insane.
Yeah.
But pretty. It's still like wild to me that he's on Juve.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, just me, is it still seem weird to you? See
No,
him?
I still sometimes, I'm like, kind of pinching myself, like, wow, he's part of us, and
Man, and
but
it's
more importantly, it kind of also I feel like it brings a lot of pressure too for us to win Champions League this
yeah,
year and maybe next,
yeah,
because really after next year you're talking about he's going to be older, and he'll be on his last year. So it's kind of like the time that we need to, I think, capitalize on that, and it would be a shame if Ronaldo walks out of Juve without a Champions League trophy when he got one with Man United, and he got four with Real. So
yeah,
I mean, granted he came at a later age to us, but I feel like just for the sake of Juventus, and it would be good if we at least get one Champions League before he departs, and and that goes along with putting him as a status of, I'm not the type
yeah,
to compare Messi Ronaldo things. I think it's ridiculous. I think they're both amazing, amazing
yeah.
players, but it would kind of, in terms of, I would say, trophy or stat wise, it would kind of like put him a little bit above Messi in terms
Yeah.
of like, hey, I got Champions League with three different teams,
Dude,
whereas
and Juve, the last success not coming since '96. I mean, he's a part of bringing that in. There's your cemented status, right? Like, just ridiculous. But and yeah, one before he departs, I'm
yeah.
ecstatic. One more before I depart, Saeed. I'm like, that's
I
that's
would
what
love to see that before I
that,
die.
that's what I'm shooting for, man. Holy, I know.
No
That's
doubt.
good. So yeah, let's get to this game. First half, we come out 1-1. It was a really slow start. Like, just, and we got to think about this. It's the dreaded double whammy where you come off international break and you have a Champions League match ahead.
Mhm.
So it's like these matches for us were disastrous last season. Like, they were always just ugly, and it's understandable too. You got the flights and the guys coming back, and then the quick training sessions, and then it's like boom, match time, right? So I get it, but yeah, it started really, really slow. It was probably about close to the 20-minute mark where we started to get a little bit of our fluidity, but it was still just seemed really, really slow tempo from us. Bologna didn't really do anything that half, like, and truthfully, you could say the whole match really until the end. We'll get to that, but yeah, I mean, the nice thing about it was we still created through us not playing our best. We're still able to do that. We're moving the ball, different angles, giving defenses, making them work. Whereas last season, in these games that were ugly, it was always up the flank, and it was so easy for defenses to just, they weren't even working because it was so
Yeah.
easy. It was just always up the side. But now it's like we're coming inside. We're like, all the passes mean something. Whereas
Yeah, yeah.
last, and Sarri even spoke to this after the match. He goes, "I want the passes to mean something, to create something. Even nothing comes out of it. You're making them work, right? Making them think, causing confusion, and that's the beauty. Inside, outside, like we're mixing it up.
Yeah.
So there's still good positives to find out of that, right? And I mean, the goal that they tied on, Cross comes in, and yeah, we just didn't quite get there. But Danilo with a hell of a hit, I'll give him credit there. Our goal, obviously, coming through Ronaldo, who just jumped on a loose ball, beat his man, and just smashed that thing short
Yeah.
side. Love the knee slide too, by the way. Nice Sally. But yeah, I mean, there were some good positives. I mean, Higuain had a great half. Pjanic was great through the half. And like I said, we were still creating, and I wasn't really worried about Bologna at all. And Yeah, I don't know. Take us through your thoughts on that first half. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot to touch on. I mean, it was pretty slow
Yeah.
going, you know. But what were your thoughts at halftime?
I think, I mean, yeah, like you said, I think it was good to that, Ronaldo kind of created that goal out of nothing. And, those kinds of players are important for teams that want to win championships. You got to have some of those players that can kind of, bring a goal out of nothing, which someone like Higuain is pretty good at something like that too. But in general, I think all over the field and part of what made our midfield really good back in the Marquisio, Vidal, Pogba days was that you had those players that kind of brought that special thing that out of nowhere you get a goal even though you're having a bad game and
Yeah.
you're not really creating well. But again, we kind of let things slip sometimes defensively, especially on, it seems like something about crosses and set pieces. We still don't know how to handle them good. We got a little bit better, I felt like, when I think it was before the break when we played Leverkusen and those guys, or against Inter. I think we kind of, addressed that a little bit because I remember those games kind of vaguely. I remember we were, getting rid of a lot of the balls that were coming into the box. But it seems like it's still something that's costing us every game. And,
Yeah, it's
that's
strange.
something we need to fix. Yeah.
Yeah, it has gotten better from the start of the season, but it's still like it's just I'm uneasy, man, when these like the set
Yeah,
pieces
yeah,
are coming in. It's just like it's still in the
yeah.
back of our minds because it has actually been an issue for quite some time, even through last season and a little bit in the season before. Like just set pieces.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just
On both
always
sides.
yeah,
On both sides. I mean,
exactly.
I think when we get set pieces, when we get a set piece, whether it's a corner or a free kick, you're kind of like not really that excited because it
Oh
just
yeah,
never really turns into anything. I mean,
yeah,
our corners, I mean, 9 out of 10 times don't even get near being any kind of a danger. It just kind of comes in, and either they head it out, or there's like pushing and shoving, and the ref just dismisses the whole thing. So I
yeah,
think we need to again, like I think to me, one of the many things that championship teams have, especially if you want to win Champions League, is like you got to be able to not concede from set pieces and also be able to punish the other teams on set
yeah,
pieces. And the same thing with counters. That's another thing I was telling about Allegri last couple of years was that it seemed like our team just was never able to counter. We didn't have any good counters. Our counters were slow. Nothing was happening. But now
yeah,
this year, it's a lot better. So we've addressed that. But I think the
yeah.
set pieces we still need to address because, I mean, that thing that happened at the end of that game, I mean, if that was like
Uh,
Champions League,
yeah. Uh,
quarters and semis against the Bayern or like a Real, we would have conceded. You can't
yeah.
rely on a GG miracle every time to save you.
No, and we'll get there too at the end of the game, and it's just like, yeah, you're right on the counters, and during Allegri's time too. I mean, it's been covered by anyone. I mean, you don't have to be a pundit by any means to see it. That they were like, you had Dybala out on the pitch, he'd be way back. Mandzukic would be way
Yeah,
back out. Those, how are you going to counter when your attackers are playing defense?
in our
Like,
own
oh
field.
yeah, it's just
In our
it's
own field.
crazy, right? You see Mandzukic out on the corner byline, and I'm like, why is he there? Like, what's
Right.
going on? We get the ball, who's it going to? The other
Yeah.
team. It's just it's strange, right? But yeah, the counters are great to watch now.
Yeah.
Our goal also Rabiot made actually a great run. He shanked that pass going across. I think he was going to go straight across to the winger, and it bounced off. It's just
The
terrible
defense.
play by
Yeah.
yeah, and it fell to Ronaldo. But Rabiot through the first half, like he's been one of those guys like everybody's just waiting for more, but he's not getting a lot of minutes. And
Yeah.
I actually thought he did a good job so
Yeah.
far in the first half. I was actually happy with his performance. I didn't think there was anything wrong with it by any means, but some people were still saying Rabiot's ass, and I'm like, come on.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are kind of, they want a player to come and impress right away, like with the,
Yeah,
limited minutes, and it's really hard to do, and there's really a lot of factors,
yeah,
how the game is being played, what's the other team's tactics,
yeah,
and just because people get impressed because they see a couple of things from one player, but then maybe at the sometimes one side of the field gets more action than the other side doesn't mean the other player had a bad game just because you didn't see him as much as you saw another one. So
exactly. Yeah,
it's a lot of variables, and again, having enough minutes to play is very important. One of the reasons players like Pjanic, Matuidi, or Khedira, they end up having some good games. People are like, oh well, this is why they're playing and stuff. Well, they're getting a lot of chances, and if
yeah,
you are playing game in, game out all the time, you need to have good games.
yeah,
It's not that okay, Khedira scored, now all of a sudden we all gotta praise him, but
yeah,
you have to look, are the other players getting the minutes? If you're
exactly.
throwing the guy in, a one game out of once a month, then it's hard for him to come and just impress.
Yeah,
So
and a lot of fans, including myself, were just trying to piece it together. What like Rabiot had a very impressive preseason,
mhm.
and then these appearances here in the season are not up to that standard. But at the same time, I think possibly some of the mental aspect because there are a lot of factors, and I think maybe he thought he was going to be a walk on, like a shoe in for starting
Yeah,
11, and sorry thought otherwise, and we've I've talked about a lot on the podcast about what Matuidi offers defensively behind Ronaldo, and that's actually huge.
yeah,
And
yeah.
maybe that's just playing into it and affected him a bit. It's a possibility, right? There's a lot of things, but Rabiot, I'm not really too worried about him just yet. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly, this performance, people were saying, he's asked. I didn't find that at all. I thought he actually did a good
No,
job. They
no.
were picking apart his mistakes, but honestly, there's quite a few of us that made mistakes, and a lot of those mistakes were actually later on in the game when guys just got gassed. We got
Yeah.
gassed really early, and we'll get into that too. One thing before we shut down on the first half, that goal that we conceded, like we completely lost focus, but we were whining about a lot of the calls that we didn't that the ref didn't call, and then it was almost like we just like stopped for a while there, and
Soccer.
it's like frustrating, and I noticed that a lot in that game too, even in the offensive, like in the final third there, and we just got like we got players like multiplayer arms up and just like
Yeah.
Bernardeschi was doing it, Ronaldo was doing it, and it's just like guys like play through, like let's
Keep
go
playing.
pick it
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
but to do it on the defensive end is yeah, like that's not cool. You don't want to do that, especially like you're playing like the top dogs, like come
Yeah.
Champions League and whatnot. Like you got to just battle through that. So that's the kind of stuff I don't like to see. And I talked about it last season too because I felt we had a little run there of matches where it was like all we were doing was whining and complaining. It was like, holy
Yeah. Yeah.
guys, just let's go.
I think it's just bad for the sport, and it's one of those things where you see it in this sport more than any other sport.
Yeah,
Because, but I would have thought by now with technology and cameras and people making fun of you online and stuff like that, you would think that eventually soccer players would evolve into realizing that hey, there's no point in arguing with the ref because 99.9% of the time he's not going to change his decision no matter
exactly.
what. So you're just wasting time. You're wasting your energy and everything. I could see how in the past that became a thing because, before there was all this technology and cameras, there was a lot of, things that were happening that refs wouldn't see and wouldn't catch. So players got used to diving and
Yeah,
doing all these things. But, now if you dive, everyone's going to see it. Everyone's going to make fun of you. So I
yeah.
think
You
they need
have
to start
Neymar in the
realizing
World
that.
Cup situation, right? Like that was
Yeah, yeah.
crazy, crazy. But
But
yeah,
I think they just need to get into the point that, like, hey, there's no point in arguing, and like you said, if you lose your focus and it's on defense, and all of a sudden the other team, got the ball, and then you're going to concede, and that's that would really be hurtful to concede on something
yeah,
like that, especially in a big game. I mean,
yeah.
I can just see players getting roasted after that.
Oh yeah, Yeah. Well, remember, what was it? It was last season, wasn't it? And I think, was it a Champions League game? Bonucci with the,
Hmm.
you
Oh
know,
yeah, with the
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, hiding
exactly.
it, like hiding his face, but looking at the play, like watch. It's like, come on, guys,
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, he
it's
just
just
wanted
something
the
I noticed
game.
on that goal that they tied, and I was like, come on, guys, like let's play through, let's keep that focus, right?
Yeah,
Then we get to the second half. I expected a much quicker tempo from us. We did get that at the start. The keeper made a great save on a Ronaldo header off a corner. When we were we were moving the ball quicker. It looked good. Pjanic ended up taking two guys out completely in the box. No call. I was actually surprised. And then it looked like a glitch in a FIFA game or something where the ball just kind of was bouncing around, fell to
that
him,
was
the
a fun
keeper
play.
was out, and in it goes. Pjanic slots home. And the whole time I'm thinking, wow, like that wasn't a call. Like, so just being honest, like that's a foul on Pjanic when he takes out that guy.
In the box.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
he pushes him into his own guy. They both fall down. I was shocked it wasn't a call, but I'll take it. It is what it is. And you know what? If anybody, all the anti-Juve out there that want to say they wouldn't take it, that's bullshit. They're gonna
yeah,
take it too. But
absolutely.
yeah, Pjanic he's just having a hell of a year. Like he's really like it's awesome to watch him now under Sarri. And I gotta admit, through last season, I was like questioning whether or not we should move him and cash in on the money because he would bring a good money. But you know what? Um, it's times like those. Thank God I don't make calls for this club because this guy's ridiculous. He's having a great season.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so the second half, we still created a lot. We were always in control. We just couldn't end up finding that one and sealing it. We had a few opportunities. Quadrado was a little off in the final third. He was beating his guy good. He was doing well to create, but it was the final ball. Just he was blasting it all the time, and I'm like, just a little finesse there.
Yeah, yeah.
He had some options, but yeah, I mean, we really did look bagged in this one. Obviously, towards the end, it started causing them to put us under a little bit of pressure. Obviously, we get to that situation with Delict, where it looks to many that he missed the ball and it bounced up, hit his back trailing arm. Upon review, it did hit his foot. He went to clear it, hit his foot, changed direction, hit the back trailing
Yeah.
arm. That is not a handball.
Mhm.
And that's what it is. I'm not gonna get into all the rules and stuff. I posted them on the Twitter and stuff, but if you read it, to me, I take that definition as that not being a handball because
Yeah.
it hit his foot first. And yeah, um,
Yeah, it's
Napoli
definitely a
fans,
subject that's kind of tough right now. Nowadays, this handball stuff,
yeah,
because it seems like the rule is kind of, people have their own interpretations and things like that. To me, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if it was something against us, if that happened and we got the call, I mean, I would take it obviously, but I wouldn't. I also wouldn't bitch about it if that happened and they didn't call it. They
yeah,
didn't call it on us if it was against us, right? Because to me, it should be only a handball if like if it's to me that's intentional and unintentional. That's the biggest thing is that if he's doing that, there is no way for him to have what was he supposed to do? Cut off his arm? You have
yeah.
arms.
It,
When you jump, try jumping without using your arms. Everybody has to use your arms. So
yeah.
the fact that everybody thinks that somehow just because the ball hits your hand, it should be a handball. To me, I think that's ridiculous because the ball bounces. Sometimes it bounces and hits your hand. That's not your fault. That
It's
shouldn't be the
the
player's fault.
context for sure, 100%.
Yeah,
Like you have to see the situation and whatnot, and yeah, I mean in this one, he's going to ground, so
yeah,
his arm's actually behind his body, and it's just
yeah.
trailing. It's totally natural. That's how you're gonna slide. You
Right.
put your arm out. It is behind him. The way that ball bounces is ridiculous. Like I
Yeah,
can't believe and yeah. I mean, it should have been handled a little more routinely. I felt he did make a meal out of it, but still,
yeah.
no handball, right?
Sure.
But yeah, Benucci towards the end here, we get into a lot of errors where they just put us on. Benucci making a really bad pass to Pjanic, missing him completely. They came right back at us. Bernardeschi with a few in possession there. Rabiot trying to hit Sandro, but Sandro has the biggest reason to be gassed out of anyone on this club. We go into the season with 3 fullbacks. Mind-blowing to me. This guy is just racking up minutes, man. And like these other guys, like I think Danilo just came back, but DeCilio isn't fully fit and back.
Yeah.
It's crazy the amount of minutes this guy is playing. He went to international duty as well. Come back, like, your man of the match in this game against Bologna.
Ooh, I would say Pjanic.
That was my pick. Yeah. He just he didn't get a step wrong, man, and it all ran through him.
I mean, nobody had an amazing game, really. It was kind of, if you look at Ronaldo or Bernardeschi or whatever, nobody had a really amazing game. But, Pjanic just being on a roll that he is. And is it like, 4 goals he's scored so far this month between International and Juve? I know he got 3 with Juve. And
I think he's at 6 goals and a few assists between Juve and Bosnia. So, he's actually, on pace for one of his best seasons, ever.
Yeah. I just hope it continues. That's the biggest key for us is we need consistency. We need people to always play, and I hope it's not just a good month and then it goes back to being average. So
yeah, I mean, so far this season he's hit the ground running. He's my pick. This one, man of the match. Let's get to some of the other characters here. I thought Higuain, I thought, did a great job. I think he had a strong game. Some fans were picking him for man of the match. I could see it. I mean, he did a good job. But I mean, for me, Pjanic, obviously, I mean, he took 2 guys out in the box, didn't get a call and scored the goal, the winner. Ronaldo scored a beauty, but Ronaldo actually still left a lot to be desired in his particular match against Bologna. A lot of passing mistakes and just errors. Unlike him, he's not a guy I'm worried about. Some fans are talking on Twitter, worried about he's not scoring a lot right now. I'm okay with that because we're still rolling. So the fact that we're not relying on him, I love it. That's what I didn't want to happen with us getting him. So the fact that that's happening, I'm okay with that. And I think honestly, I don't care if he doesn't really score at all through this phase, and then come crunch time, he's on fire. Cool. I'm okay with that. Let's get to Bernardeschi. Here's a guy that a lot of people are seeing a lot of different ways. In this match, I thought he did a good match. I thought he had a good match. People were saying the same against Inter. They were just all over him, roasted him. And I thought he was pretty much invisible against Inter, other than just running around and playing some defensive pressure on guys, which is fine, and that's good. But to just solely defend him based on that isn't enough, because that position requires a lot more. You have to be good in all aspects and all of the characteristics that role entails. And that's what I'm missing out of Berna, and that's what I'm missing in this one. He did great. He had some good build-up and whatnot, but in space, I don't really care. When you have the time to think, so that should just be a natural. You guys are professionals. You play every single day. You train every single day. I expect it when you're in space and you have time. But when he gets into the tight areas, which is crucial if you're going to play in that role behind the 2 strikers, it's got to be better, and the decisions are just not there. And they're not coming. It just continues to be that final third, and it's critical errors where it costs. It's the difference between getting a quality scoring chance and not having anything at all. And that's the big thing, right? So, yeah, I love his work rate. Yes, he helps on defense. It allows the forwards to stay up. But the big part of that role is to still be, sharp and effective in around the goal. And he's lagging there big time for us. And for me, that's a problem. For the Bernardeschi fans, it isn't, because of those other things he gives us. It's a tough one, man. But your thoughts on Bernardeschi in this game and just overall, right?
Yeah. For me, I'm all about giving people some enough chances, and you know, he's had very inconsistent playing time as well, especially last year under Allegri. You know, he would come every now and then. It's really hard to get things going when you're not consistently playing. You know, sometimes that's what it takes. Is, you know, you get consistency, you get chances, and then you find a rhythm. And that's kind of what we're doing with De Ligt, right? You know, he is in a lucky position. That, you know, maybe Rugani didn't have, where, you know, he first came, he had to wait like 3 years until he gets his chances. But, you know, De Ligt comes and all of a sudden he's starting and he's getting his chances, even though he's made mistakes. We're kind of letting him, and he's finding his feet, he's finding his confidence. So sometimes that might be the key, but at the same time, you can't always afford to give people chances over and over if they don't do something with it. So I think Bernadeschi, I personally like him. I think I see the talent there. I think he's amazing at holding the ball, controlling the ball, dribbling, getting past his players. But like you said, there's just something missing in that last part that everyone hopes for.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like a tough one, because I feel like a lot of times he gets in those positions where we're like attacking, or we're like, you know, he's holding the ball up, which, you know, maybe if he wasn't playing, we wouldn't even have that. So it's kind of one of those things that, well, we're in this position because he's playing, but then if he wasn't, he you know, we wouldn't be. But I think he just needs to, I think right now he's finding the rhythm, and maybe it's that Sarri is kind of trying to give him a little bit of confidence, but playing him a little bit consistently. But I think there's a little bit of adjusting to the new coach. I think last year, a lot of what Allegri was asking him was to come in the game and just hold the ball, because I think what's important between him, as opposed to like a Dybala or Ramsey, I think to play possession football, he's a great player. I think that's why people use him, because, you know, he can hold the ball, he can pass it, he can, you know, create space for himself. So he has a lot of good. You know, it's not that he's...
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and he has a wicked shot. His shots are amazing. But he needs to work a little bit on that, the final third, and finding his rhythm with Ronaldo and Higuain and things like that. And I think what I kind of disappoints me sometimes watching him is that when we're countering or we're attacking, I don't see him, like, I want him to run faster and, like, you know, attack more, like run with Ronaldo faster. But he's kind of like not running as fast. He's kind of like, let me stay behind a little bit in case they want to pass it back to me or something. So I don't know if that has to do with a little bit of, you know, Allegri last year was a lot more conservative, where it's like, you know, hold the ball, and, you know, he keeps passing back, and he keeps, you know, still doing those things. Whereas I think he needs to find out under Sarri, he has the freedom, like attack, go, you know, pass and things like that. He just thinks too much. I think he just needs a little bit of...
In this match, you know, like his best moments in my mind were actually when he was working on either flank. Like, he came to us as a winger, and I just, like, he had a couple sequences there yesterday where it was awesome, because he beat a guy out on the wing, put a dangerous ball in. Nice. Keeping it simple. I think that's what he's got to do. I think he's just, like, he's just trying to do way too much. And I think that's what's just happening, and it's just, like, almost like so many different scenarios running through his mind, when it's just like, just take the simple one. You know, he had an instance there yesterday. There was two defenders in front of him. He teed up and just let go a shot, but to get it through those two guys directly in front of him, he had Sandro streaking right on his left. All he had to do was lay it in front of him. That ball's going to be blasted across low and hard, and maybe we tap it in. Maybe it's an own goal. It would have been dangerous, right? But it's just little things like that, right? Just take the simple outlet. It's just, maybe that's it, just trying to do too much. Maybe because, well, I could say maybe because of the competition, because the ball has been great every appearance. Douglas Costa is a lock for me in the 11 when he's fit. He started off this year just incredible form. And maybe that's what it is too. Maybe Berna's just trying to do too much to try and put himself above, and maybe it's hindering him, right? I don't know, but like I say, people are, when you have affection for a player, you tend to get a little defensive. So like all these Twitter convos, they break free, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you have an agenda against Berna. There's no agenda against Berna. This is a problem that has been there since day one of his time with Juve, and it's been the decision making, and it's still there. So it's not an agenda. It's just, but to say he had a bad game, he didn't have a bad game by any means. You
just want to see more. You want to see more from it.
It's just when those mistakes come in critical areas, it's more highlighted than running back and making a tackle. You know what I mean? Missing
that's what people remember.
Exactly. Missing a key pass that could have led to a great opportunity to score sticks out a lot more than tracking back 15 yards and winning the ball back. It's just the nature of the game, really. And he could be just a victim of that too, right? So like I said, I mean, I wanted more. I thought he was okay. But Adrien Rabiot. We talked about it. I thought he had a great first half. I thought he had a good second half too. Towards the end, you could really tell this guy was bagged. And as were quite a few of our guys, and that's when the mistakes were coming. But overall, I liked his game. I think I'd actually like to see him. I'd like to see a midfield with Matuidi on the left, Pjanic in the middle. I want to see Rabiot over on the right. And the reason I want to see him on the right side, number one, Khedira was completely invisible again. He offered nothing in this one. And that's now, he started off the season actually pretty good, I have to admit. But he's gone invisible now for the past few appearances now. And I want to see Rabiot actually on that side. He's left-footed. And I'm not one of those guys, like, to me, sticking left-footed players, like maybe as fullbacks, I'm okay with that. As a fullback being a left-footer on the left side and right-footed right back. But when it comes to the midfield and your forward positions, it really doesn't matter to me. If you're left-footed, you don't need to be stuck on the left side. He can go on the right. It's almost more natural the way he plays, and you watch him slide into these positions, these advanced positions. But taking that shot from that side, you could tell he wanted to a few times. It's just not... It's not quite there, whereas he could take that initial step and rocket in. If you've seen Rabiot shoot, he's got an absolute cannon. And I just think since we're not getting a whole lot out of that position anyways, and Matuidi's going to be the lock for defensive duties on the left, I'd love to see Rabiot in there.
Right side.
I think it'd be incredible. And if you start talking about that three in the middle with, say, Ramsey in the hole, the ball of Ronaldo up top, like that could be deadly. And then we still got to factor in, we got Douglas Costa coming too, right? But Rabiot plays that role so nice where he can just trail and be at the top of the box. And coming from the right side, it's just natural for him to move in and always be in a shooting position. Whereas he's coming from the left, if he gets up there, really all he had to do that game is break down and then have a cross across goal, right? Which he did a couple times very nicely. Bernardeschi actually almost got to one of them. But yeah, I'd actually like to see him on the right. But your thoughts on Rabiot's performance? A lot of fans saying Rabiot's ass. I'm not buying into that, man. Not buying into that.
You can't, I mean, a lot of fans these days are, they see like two mistakes and they're like, oh, he had a horrible game.
Yeah.
You should be allowed to a few bad passes.
So you talked about minutes and finding rhythm and stuff like that, but like just overall yesterday, were you happy or disappointed in Rabiot?
I was happy in terms of, I like to see him play more. I mean, did he have the most amazing game? No, but I didn't think he had a bad game either.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't mind seeing him on the right side either because he has played that position with PSG, and I think maybe he could play almost any role in the midfield, maybe even Pjanic's role if we needed to.
I think so too.
So I think he can fit anywhere. But I think what this comes down to, and you were talking about Khedira, is a lot of it. Sometimes it's a little disappointing what management's doing in general, because it kind of seems like it kind of is flying by the wind in terms of like. the decisions and stuff. If you're bringing in a Rabiot and Ramsey and you're giving them such high salaries, on top of having a Bentacore and Chan,
Yeah.
and Khedira. So it's kind of like, okay, well, if you bring those guys in, I think the plan was to get rid of at least one or two, maybe a Khedira or a Matuidi, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So they ended up staying, and now we have this excess of midfielders. Unlike last year, where we had not enough midfielders, we kind of got rid of Marquisio the last second.
Yeah.
Then we go in the season with 5 midfielders,
and now we've done it. And now we've done it with fullbacks. Now we've gone into.
Now we did it with fullbacks, and then we got too many midfielders.
It's always something. Now we got a plethora of midfielders, and we got 3 fullbacks, and poor Sandro is going to be dead by the end of the season.
Yeah.
And
it's
so crazy.
I think Rabiot does need more chances, the same as Ramsey, and you got to get those guys in, because you don't want to end up all of a sudden second half of the season. Now all of a sudden you're forced to put these guys in, and they haven't had many chances. So it kind of brings you to where we were last year with Rugani in the second half of the season. All of a sudden we got Rugani and Bonucci partnering up in defense, and Rugani's played so sporadically in the last 4 years that he had no kind of rhythm, and they ended up being terrible games. So I think management really needs to look at it and say, okay, what's the future? Are we, Khedira has a few good games here and there. Personally, I don't think he has that many great games. I think he is probably better going offensively, but on defense, he just doesn't really do much. And if you look at his stats, he doesn't have many tackles.
Khedira and Chan make me laugh, because it's almost like, you have this, it's like people that have a beater car and they buy the exact same one just in case they need a part off one of them, and like it breaks down or something. Okay, it's okay. I'll take the water pump off this one, put it on this. It's just so funny to me, man. Like, but you're so right about the management, these contracts, and like the extensions to, Khedira was just, it's weird to me.
And then we go on extend players, and then you get stuck with them, and then so you have to look at it and say, okay, our Khedira, what more can we get out of him? Maybe one more good year. So is it really worth, pissing off these other younger guys or hindering their progress? I mean, these guys are used to playing every day, every week. Now we bring them here, and we're kind of sporadically playing them, and they're not used to that. They're used to playing every game. Yeah. So you have to look at it and say, what are we going to get out of Khedira? One more year, and then, next year in the summer, you're going to have all these young guys who haven't played, and they want to play. So then you end up in this situation of, people want to leave, and you have to sell them and all these things. Whereas, Khedira, by now he's like 33. I mean, I think it's time we move past him and put him on the bench as a super sub or something. Like, I understand, like, it's great to have a experienced player on your squad, so just have him there and have him come in second halves. Have him come, in these other games, and that's what a lot of other people have done, right? Like, if you look at like a De Rossi with Roma or all these other players, it gets to a point where they realize, like, okay, this guy's getting old. Yeah, we can't depend on this guy every single game, and and this will hurt us later down the line as well, too, right? If we're playing Khedira every game, and all of a sudden it comes second half of the year and he's injured or he can't play, then it's like, okay, well, you wasted the whole year playing him and not playing these other guys. Yeah. So I think there needs to be a little bit of like a reality check of like, okay, what is our plan? And let's stick to it. I mean, this whole buying players and then get rid of this one. And last year, we got rid of Higuain. Now this year we're doing it to Mandzukic, so yeah. It's like a little bit of, you're not creating like a nice vibe in the team either when you do these things.
We'll get to these things too. Yeah, it's a business vibe. Like, it's just becomes business, right? But we still got those guys. That's why, like, going back to Gigi Buffon, a guy like that in the locker room, that's huge, right? Yeah. But, yeah, so Rabiot, Okay, I'd like to see him on the right side. There's the rumors, obviously about the playing time and it being a situation and possibly him taking off already in January or whatnot. Now, there's a lot of rumors too. There's Emre Can. There's obviously Mandzukic, which just, I mean, it sucks. He's been huge for us. A warrior. He's played every position he's been asked to, especially under Allegri. And he's produced in big moments for us. But I do agree that just with the way the style that we're moving to, the approach that we're starting to take, I don't see him fitting in the project. So I actually do agree with that. It just sucks that it had to come to this,
Yeah.
But that's a tough one, right? So it looks like he's going to end up most likely at Man U. But we have these rumors about Rabiot already, whether you choose to believe them or not. I mean, it's tough to say. You got to take everything with a grain of salt, obviously. Emre Can, same thing, obviously being off the Champions League list. He's vented his frustration with his playing time. But then you have Paratici, and that's why people were so pumped on his words. He comes out and he says, well, no, we're locked in. We've got a great deep squad. Like in January, there's going to be no moves. I don't believe it. You can't believe it because, things change like that. How many times have we heard, no, we're set with Dybala, he's our 10, he's our man. Then all of a sudden they tried to push him out hard for 2 months.
Yeah.
Come on. So
That was bad.
Yeah, I'm not buying Paratici's words. It is what it is. There may be some truth to Rabiot's frustration, but honestly, I mean, he just came to this club. He didn't play competitively for a while with PSG before coming to us. He's got to get his head down and just work.
You should have expected that.
Exactly. It's not a given, right? Like, you're coming to Juve and, there's a lot of talent there. It's it's no different than PSG. There's a lot of talent there, too. You've got to work, and it's not a given, right? I like that. I would rather a club that doesn't have, just the guys that that are subs, but guys that can compete to keep the starting 11 sharp and possibly take their spots. That's what you want. I've always said, under Allegri, it just felt like there was no, competition for spots. Sandro had no competition through all those struggles, those 2 seasons where he was just, not himself. There was nothing. Spinazzola last year gave him a run. I thought Spinazzola was actually better than him.
I was very disappointed, and I agree with you on that. To me, people didn't agree with me, but to me, and seeing Spinazzola, even from his Atalanta days, I rated him very highly, and I was very excited when he joined us.
Yeah.
And I thought he had an amazing season. He stepped up when it mattered, and that's what you want from
this
this
goes right back to your management thing, because
what happened?
They got handcuffed because of these extensions they gave to Mario, to Khedira, the Higuain deal. These things come back to bite them, and now and now we get into a situation. We have renewals that they're discussing already for Matuidi, Cuadrado, Bernardeschi, Dybala, and Szczesny. Now, for me, out of these 5, right now, I would put the paper and I'd put the pen in front of them and I'd say, Szczesny, Dybala, sign, let's lock it up.
Yeah.
The other 3, wait. Just wait. Don't jump into
this. Wait and
this.
see how it goes.
Let's just see. There's no rush to just do these extensions and stuff. Look at what we've done, so far. And then it's we lost, we had to end up working a deal to get Spinazzola. Great. We brought Pellegrini in, but we loaned him out immediately. Possibly coming back in January. I don't know. I don't understand that whole move. Why would you not want a left back substitute? Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Then what do we have? Moise Kean.
Sure. Yeah.
Shipping him off, and that sucked too. And now everybody's going to be on his struggles and with Everton and everything in the Premier League. Look, sometimes these young guys, it could go either way, but to be around Juve and train at that caliber of club is a lot different than just getting a bunch of minutes at Everton. It's probably more. It's probably a lot better for him to be around. He loved the club too. He loved Juve. to be around that talent, to be training with Ronaldo, Dybala, like to be training with these guys, like then to just go to Everton. Okay, yeah, you're gonna grab all these minutes, but look at the guys you're playing with. Look at the club you're around and whatnot. It's a lot different. So it just sucks, right? Like we get in these modes where management handcuffs us. But yeah, these extensions. For me, Dybala, Szczesny, I'm okay with doing it right now. The other three, wait. Your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Szczesny, goalkeeper is a really important role, so you got to make sure that he's around. And Dybala, yeah, I mean, to me, Dybala is worth a lot just because of the marketing, capabilities that he has, and he has over 30 million followers, has deals with Adidas and all these things. So there's certain players that kind of stand out and become marketable. So you got to have those players around. I mean, that's why someone like a Ronaldo costs 100 million at age 33. And it was we had it with Pogba. So I think it's important to have players like Dybala on our team, even if he might not have had the greatest season, but he's a popular player, and not just that, he should cost a lot of money. I mean, it infuriates me when I see so many other teams, so many smaller teams, just have these record fees for these players that they've had that had one good year, and they're like selling them for like 80 million and 100 million, and then it comes to our players and we're like willing to just toss them out for like 50 million or like. To me, that just, I think what was very frustrating is that I thought we didn't get enough money for Pogba. I didn't think we got enough money for Vidal, and it was scaring me that we were just gonna throw away Dybala like that. I mean, if you're gonna sell Dybala, at least bring in another like superstar like him. You can't, and to have gotten rid of him to bring in Lukaku. I mean, I know that was like something for Inter, but,
I almost vomited immediately when I even just. I was just like, you gotta be kidding me! If this is like a thing, like
insane.
It's crazy. I don't know if it was crazy just reading that, or crazy reading people that weren't actually trolling, that were trying to justify it.
Justify it, yeah.
I'm just
that's the thing.
You cannot justify to me, okay, that getting rid of Dybala to bring in Lukaku is a good idea.
Yeah.
Never.
No, and there's certain Juve fans that have this thing with like, oh, don't criticize management as if they can never do anything wrong. And I don't believe in that because, no one's perfect. But, just because you criticize something doesn't mean you're ungrateful or you think that management is bad. But it's just that you're saying, in this one situation, we could have done better. Or, no one's in this, but everyone's like, oh.
And it's just personal opinion. I wouldn't do that. You would? Okay, great. I think it's crazy. I wouldn't make that move. And that's just fine. And I just talked about it earlier on the podcast. Like, towards the end of last year, I was probably ready to move Pjanic. And I even said it on this podcast. Like, man, thank God, like, that didn't actually happen. Because the guy's just unreal, right? Like, he's having a great season, too. And these things happen, right?
Right, and people got to stop trying to force their opinions on other people, and, sometimes I think, maybe even it's like a certain style of player you like, I mean, you might like Matuidi's style, but then another person likes Ramsey's style, it's just not, there's no right or wrong there, and I think people just need to kind of chill out a little bit in terms of getting on each other's case for, like, little things. And the whole comparisons of stats and things, I mean, those things kind of get out of hand. But I mean, to get back to what you were saying about the extensions, I don't know what it is that management seems to always be in this fear of, like, letting players go for free. Sometimes, maybe you don't need an extension. Just let Khedira run out his contract, or let Mandzukic run out his contract, because
that's it too.
We're not good at selling. If we were good at selling players, I would say, sure, extend them so we can get some money.
Yeah.
But it's been shown that we can't sell and we get stuck with these players. So
Selling
So
has
why are we
not been
doing
a
that?
strong point for us.
Yeah.
No, you're right. So
And
yeah,
that's part of why all these heartaches are happening with people like Mandzukic and
yeah,
Benatia and all these other players that, now we got all these other midfielders that are getting upset. So, sometimes you have to look at it and just say, hey, what are we doing? And do we really need to extend this guy?
yeah, yeah. No, I agree, and that's why I say like, we're talking about these extensions in October, and it's honestly like two of those guys I'd be okay with. The rest, like
Wait,
just
yeah,
wait, just
yeah,
wait. It's October.
absolutely.
So much can happen. You don't even know what's going to hit the market still, technically. Um,
Hmm.
like, and I know we're all over the freeze, so I'm sure they have that list in front of them. But
And
there's
that's another thing. Just because a player's free, we don't have to sign them.
well,
We got to stop doing that.
ex-
We don't need to sign every player that's free.
Well, one of the things that was getting me, and I was actually happy about this past summer, and this brings it up perfectly, is that we brought Ramsey and Rabiot at the same time. Because it's
Yeah.
like, we were just in that mode where it was just like, okay, he's going to come up free. It's next year. So we're going to wait on that one or whatnot. It's just like, guys, like, build now. Like,
Yeah.
strengthen
Why
your
are we
spots
waiting?
now. Like, why are you waiting? And if it costs you money, okay, like, figure it out. Bolster the team, like, each summer the best possible. Stop looking to, like, it's okay to look to the next summer, but, like, don't bank on it and just settle for the season upcoming. Like, again, we go into a season, three fullbacks. You go into a season, five midfielders last year when you run a 3-man midfield. It's just like, what are we doing here? So I was actually happy that at least they did that. Getting both those guys on freeze was actually huge. Ramsey
Yeah.
and Rabiot. Ramsey, obviously, it's just that injury thing with him, that injury bug.
He's not
Uh,
gonna go.
I know, it's just if we manage that properly, the guy's like, he's looked great in that hole behind Dybala and Ronaldo. That was sick to watch,
Yeah.
and I want to see that. It's just we got to keep that guy healthy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Speaking of additions, we talked a bit about his handball situation there, and so much discussion on De Ligt being overrated and the criticism coming his way. And man, it's crazy to me. Like, first of all, going back to where you're talking about these smaller clubs spending big money, here's a reminder to everybody. We spent less on De Ligt than a club did on Harry fucking Maguire. Okay? So just think about that for a second, okay? De Ligt is like 10 times the defender as Maguire, okay? I'm telling you
Yeah.
that. And
Absolutely.
De Ligt, like, overrated? God, no. God, no. The
Yeah.
expectations are a hell of a lot different playing for Juve than they are Ajax. No disrespect to that club. The expectations are completely different. He even spoke to the fact he thought he was going to ease into it. He expected that. People were like, why isn't he playing first game? Him and Chiellini. It's like, no. De Ligt knew. He's going to ease into it. He respects Bonucci and Chiellini. Huge. As
Yeah.
defenders. They're part of the, BBC, who's like record-breaking defense trio, right? And he respects them. He knew he was going to ease his way into it. Obviously, terrible injury to our Capitano there, Chiellini. He was thrown into the fire. But he's been growing. He's been on an upward trend, and he was playing. He even said to not make a mistake. You know what?
Hmm.
Playing sports, I can relate to that. And when you're in that mode, in hockey, they call it gripping the stick too tight.
Yeah.
And we talk about
Yeah.
Bernardeschi. You're overthinking things.
Right.
You're not doing it. You're just not keeping it simple. And when you're
Yeah.
in that mode, you're thinking about, man, I can't mess up. I can't mess up. But that's when you make the most mistakes. And
Yes.
since then,
Yes.
he's loosened up. He's gotten better and better and better. He's had some sketchy scenarios in the box. Whatever. I mean, that could happen to anybody, really. So I'm not too worried about that. I think he's doing incredible. This last game against Bologna, he was better than Bonucci. Bonucci was a little bit off, but Bonucci's been great this season. I will say that, and everybody knows my feelings with him. I was at the match against Milan when he celebrated in front of us.
Oh, wow.
Really pissed me off, but that's okay.
Yeah,
He's been great this season in Chiellini's absence, but this
yeah.
particular match, De Ligt had a beauty of a match, better than Bonucci. Not overrated in my mind by any means. I'm not worried about him at all. He's 20 years old. He's on an upward trend with us.
Yes.
Much higher expectations. Worth every penny in my mind. Your thoughts on De
Yes.
Ligt, Saeed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think he's been great. You can't, I mean, especially on defense, you can't have somebody who's flawless. On defense, things
Yeah.
happen, goals are gonna happen. You can't just, every time you gotta expect to get scored on. You can't just break down every goal that you can see down to the millimeter and try to figure out whose fault it was and things like that. It's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, for his age and the experience that he's had, it's there. I mean, it's just a matter of us developing him into
Yeah.
becoming a world class defender. And I think Rugani was also like a very rated defender when he came. So was Caldara and stuff. It's kind of too bad those didn't work out. And again, a lot of that
Yeah.
goes back to getting your chances. They weren't lucky enough to get the chance that De Ligt is getting. So I think you just have to give him some time. I mean, I'm not expecting a flawless performance. And if you really want to look at that, BBC have had tons of mistakes themselves. They haven't necessarily had the most perfect time, but I think what I do like about him, with him and Bonucci there, it feels really good that they're both comfortable on the ball. Like they can both take the ball, pass it.
Yeah.
With Rugani, you kind of felt a little nervous when he had the ball, or you kind of feel his nervousness.
I get nervous like all the time when Rugani's on the pitch. It's crazy. I think like in all his appearances for us, I think there's like one game where I was just like, wow, he truly looked solid, in control. Like he just looks so antsy. Like he makes me nervous watching him. Even just as the ball approaches him, I'm like, man.
I just think it's like a lack of confidence. Like was saying, is when you're playing well, your confidence just keeps growing and you feel invincible. And then, once you make some mistakes and everyone's on you, then like your confidence just withers away. So
and there's people picking him apart, talking about his passing. Oh, De Ligt's so good at passing the ball to Bonucci, like trying to rag on him. And I'm like, come on, like. And then yesterday against Bologna, he made some great lead passes that led to scoring opportunities, springing the guys on the flank there, and it was awesome. And I'm like, that's just gonna get better. Like he's getting more and more comfortable, and he's on the upward trend. There's no worries there. So yeah, we're in agreement there with De Ligt, and it's just naturally when the money gets involved, these discussions come up, and then it's just like a situation with that handball, whatever, and then it just spirals and it always goes out of control. But like De Ligt, for me, no, that was money well spent for sure, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to at least see a couple of years of him playing a lot of times before I say, okay, he's not that good. I mean, Rugani, we've had him for 3-4 years, and we're kind of like, all right, even though it was very sporadically, I give him that benefit, but you kind of see after 4 years that like, all right, he's not exactly who we thought he was going to be. And unfortunate.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Sarri speaks highly of him still. But
I'm wondering what's going to happen there. Is he going to play? I mean, I don't need to throw him in there because it's going to come to a time where you need him to play. So
I mean, we've got Mary Demiral as well. Very, very touchy subject surrounding him. Obviously, some fans were calling for him to get the nod against Bologna here, but obviously with the international break and then everything that's going on over there, and him doing the salute, supporting this the military there on this peace mission, what it's called, and it just, I don't want to get into all of that, but there's been some speculation that Juve has stressed a little frustration in him doing that. This is just a touchy subject, no matter how you look at it, because there's athletes that believe they should use their platform to voice their opinions and whatnot, right? He's on international duty, probably not getting reprimanded because it's that nation's military that's basically doing that, so why would they? But then you have Juve, who is your employer, and they are not backing you. Supposedly, I don't know. We're not going to get into the details, but you're taking a platform that your employer has actually provided you for. So it depends how you look at it, right? But it's really, really touchy. And some fans have gotten heated and say they want him out of Juve because of it. And for
that's
me,
a little
this
too much,
For me, this is, and that's why I say it is touchy. And I mean, that's tough. I would just like to see politics and football separated completely. They need to be. Football is beautiful, and it's what actually unites everybody, no matter what nation you're from. So something like this is just like ugly just in general. And the fact that we're talking about Demirol out because of it, the fact that he's doing it, am I a fan of what he was doing? No, obviously not. But it's just ugly, right? Any way you look at it.
Yeah, and it's interesting the way you said it. It kind of puts it in a nice perspective. Is that you have to look at it, even though he was away from Juve and playing for his national team, you're still in you're still kind of in your job, whether it's international or not. So you have to look at it kind of like us. Like if I'm working for the company that I'm working for and it's a big company, can I go and say some political stuff or whatever during my job? And most likely that's not recommended, even though...
But not only that, not only, like, you touched on it, not only that, but, like, nowadays, with social media and stuff, if somebody posts something or does something, they've been fired, even though they're away from their job, this is their personal online thing, their Facebook or whatever, they've been let go because of it, if the company feels strongly enough against it, right? So it really doesn't matter. So it's a tough one, right? I mean...
Yeah, it's a tough one, and if it's something you do on your personal time away from the field or something, I mean, I think that's people's choice, and they should be able to do that. And if and sometimes, I agree, you shouldn't mix politics and sports, but at the same time, if somebody feels really strongly about something and they want to talk about it, they should be able to. But just don't do it on the pitch, and don't do it at Juve or on international duty. Maybe do something on the side or something. Even though, like you said, with social media, you can still catch something for it, but at least you can say, hey, that's away from football.
Exactly.
I'm not doing it on the field. So
he can set up a side interview himself. Not on a field, whatever. Discuss whatever he wants to discuss. He can salute that camera 20 times. Do whatever he wants. But you are taking a platform that was, given to you by employers, essentially, right? It's tough, man. Yeah.
But I think it's a little too much to say, fire the guy for it, because, I mean, that's a little too much. I mean, if you really feel strongly and they want to kind of sit him down and talk to him about it, that's one thing. But I don't think, it was that big of a thing for him to lose his job over it.
Yeah. And that's probably going to be as close to true politics I'll ever get on this podcast, and more than I even want to.
Sometimes you can.
It's tough, man.
It's separate politics from real life.
Politics is just, that's when people get nutty. We're going to stay away.
Yeah. Exactly.
So we're going to go with 4-3-3 or 4-3-1-2. Moving forward, constantly getting this question because obviously Douglas Costa is going to be back real quick. And it was even speculated in this one, would go right back to the 4-3-3. Your thoughts on both those formations, your thoughts on what you'd like to see us moving forward, and what you think?
I think, I guess maybe I have good nostalgic memories of that 2015 team where we played 4-3-1-2, I think just generally, I would say in Italian style of football, I think that's more of been like I guess the classic type of formation to have a, player in the hole behind the strikers and stuff like that. So I think it's worked out well, and we've played our better football under that. But I do like 4-3-3. However, I think to do a 4-3-3 the right and successful way, the three up top just need to be absolutely world class players that just do everything, because if you have one or two of them not performing as well, then the 4-3-3 is not gonna. So it's to me, I feel like it suits well a good attacking team with three world class players up top.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that we don't have them, but it just hasn't quite clicked, and we have a lot of rotations there, other than like a Ronaldo.
Yeah.
So I think, but then again, you look at our staff of players and seeing that we have a lot of midfielders, maybe it is better to do a 4-3-1-2 just to kind of give everybody a chance to play. But then again, you look at somebody like a Costa and, could we slide him in that position somewhere, or is he better in a 4-3-3? There's all those things. Is Costa going to be the main guy, or is it going to be Dybala or Bernardeschi?
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of a tough one, I think. I think I like the 4-3-1-2 better. And I like to see Khedira get replaced in that three by either, like you said, like either Rabiot or Ramsey there. And I would love to see one of the favorite ones I would like to see one day is maybe a Matuidi, Pjanic, Ramsey with a Bernardeschi or Dybala up top. Not an up top, but the whole. I would like to just see some of that and just see how that works out, because it's good to put Ramsey up there too. I think he did great, but I also don't mind seeing Ramsey more in the midfield and let Bernardeschi, Dybala, or Costa take that position there behind Higuain and Ronaldo.
It'd be interesting to see. I'd be okay seeing it just to see how it goes. Like to find out if Costa can play that role, right?
Yeah.
But I still want to see a front three with CR7, Dybala, and Costa. I still just
that's always nice too,
dude. I gotta see it. I have to see it.
But you know what though, I want to see that, but I gotta say our midfield of it just if we do that, I just don't want to see Khedira, Pjanic, Matuidi. It needs to be Matuidi, Pjanic, and Ramsey or Rabiot or something.
Yeah, 100%.
We need like a
100%. Yeah. Because you're going to need some of the creation up there, like in that midfield that's not Pjanic, right? Because that's one of the things, right? If teams lock in on him and just like say they shadowed him, right? You're not going to get anything from Matuidi or Khedira, so it just shuts everything down, and that's what makes guys like Berna, guys like Costa, guys like Dybala come all the way back to get those balls, right? And it slows everything down for how we can move up the pitch and how quick we can get up there and get scoring opportunities, right? So, I still want to see that front three with CR7, Costa, and Dybala. But 4-3-1-2 so far this season has actually been the one from the two we've seen that's actually created a lot more for us offensively. And it doesn't... there's no hindrance defensively, which is what a lot of people thought was going to happen. It's actually a little bit more solid defensively with Ramsey or Bernardeschi in there, because both of them have great work rates and get back there. So
and I
think moving forward, we don't need to, what I've been telling people in my discussion is that I don't feel we need to lock in on one. I think it's great to have both. I think we should work both, because if you get in a situation of a match, okay, your opponent's plan for your 4-3-1-2, in comes Costa, it goes into a 4-3-3, you know what that guy's going to do to tired legs, and it just changes the whole dynamic, right? But a big key, I think, is going to be guys like Rabiot and Ramsey being in the midfield still when you switch to that 4-3-3. So Pjanic either has a little bit of freedom, and just having that other creative guy will actually free up Pjanic even more. But what I like
Yeah,
so far, both formations, is that Pjanic is actually getting up the pitch,
yeah,
and getting in those areas because he can hit the ball. Like, he's got a great shot. Last season, especially, I was always saying, like, you'd watch us play, there'd be a huge opening in the center of the park,
yes,
right at the top of the box. I'm like, why is nobody there? Like,
yes,
ever. It was always just the outsides. We're crossing
yeah,
it in, and we had this huge open space. So even if a guy was coming down the flank, even if there was no options to go inside. It was that inside midfielder, and if he
yeah,
turned, he had nowhere to go but try to like cross it in, or he had to go all the way back to the defense. It was mind blowing to me. He was so cautious all the time
yeah,
that it like stopped us from being able to attack. And the fact that we're doing this now is just amazing because we're just and Sarri's even talked to is just like we're controlling games. Like we've controlled all these matches. You know,
yeah,
granted some of them have been grinds, but that's just because we haven't found the finishes. But we've actually controlled every single match we've played in, and it's night and day. You and I have spoken about it, and even just a lot of interactions on Twitter about how tough it was to watch Juve before, right? And like, what's your feelings now, like this season compared to like the last two, really? Because it's been 2 seasons.
yeah. I mean, especially last year was very tough. Some games, and you can kind of just feel that. I don't know, like you just could feel that the game is just going to be very slow. And like I said, I'm the type that I watch every game and I don't want to miss a minute of it. But last year was just some games I don't know, like there were some 6 a because we have games here super early, 6 a.m. or something. And there's some games like if it was a small team at 6 a.m., maybe I didn't watch it, maybe I just
Yeah.
watched the replay. Or when I was watching it, it was very casual. Like I would, go get coffee, go get it. Used to pause it on the bathroom break, but then just let it play and go take it. Because you were just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
expecting much to happen, and it's a big difference. I mean, I think now I like to see us at least trying things and doing different things. Last year, it just seemed like we were just doing the same thing over and over and trying to expect the result, and it just wasn't happening. And like you were saying, that when we play these 4-3-3s, what we were saying last year was sometimes it felt like there was a lot of space between the midfield and attack, or we would just have everyone behind, the other team would be all behind the ball and all our players would be over there, and you would just pass it from the middle to the wing to back and middle. It was just like, and whip
Yep.
the ball in, and no one's there to score it. So it
Exactly.
just wasn't a lot of creativity. It wasn't, I personally like playing more down the middle and keeping the ball on the ground. I think just in modern football, you have to be able to have the possession and kind of move it around and stuff. But it just seemed like we just could not go through the middle,
Yeah.
And I'm liking seeing what I'm seeing right now, where we're doing a lot of these one-touch passes
Yeah.
quickly, where, you give it to this guy, the other guy runs, and we just weren't doing any of that last
Yeah.
year. We did it a few times,
Yeah.
and it was like, hey, why don't we do this more?
Well, we
But
talked
it just
about it.
wasn't happening.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier too. Sorry, said it. Like every pass has to have a meaning. It has to
Yeah,
accomplish something, right? Make them work. And yeah, you're absolutely right. Like past like 2 seasons, it was just working the ball around the outside all the time. It was so easy. Defenders are not working. But yeah, this year it's just like boom, inside, back outside,
yeah,
inside
and
to the back, to the front, back to the middle. Like, and it's just like you're inching. It's like it feels like we're constantly inching and inching and inching closer to goal, and then it's like boom, here's some opportunities. And then
right.
but yeah, for the past couple seasons, if a team parked the bus on us, man, I was questioning whether or not we'd even get a shot. Like
Yeah.
it was like it took games where we had 65 minutes before we get an attempt on goal. It's just like what's going on here? It's got to be better. It's got to be better, right? So
Yeah, and then it was also the thing of like, a lot of times you scored a goal and then you're like, all right, well, we're not going to score anymore. We're just going to shut this game down.
exactly.
And a lot of times it would get to like, or we would be up 1-0 and we would try to score the second one, but it would get to a point in the game like 75th minute where we would just kind of say, all right, let's just let's just shut it
And
up. Let's
it's
just end it.
perfect.
Which is just yeah.
Yeah, and it's perfect you bring that up because that's like been one of the most frustrating thing for so many of us Juventini. And sorry, after this match against Bologna, because of the end, the last like 8 to 12 minutes, whatever, was just like so bad, and
Mm,
we went into full maintenance mode.
yeah.
And sorry, post match on this one, talking about we can't go into maintenance mode because it puts us in risky situations. He goes, that right there is just music to my ears. Like having, you know, and I want to just keep the Allegri thing separate, or whatever. But it was
Yeah.
Allegri, and just having him constantly talk about, I'm making these substitutions, bringing in extra defenders, where Sarri's bringing in or changing our offensive guys to keep them fresh, so that we could still
Right,
push.
right.
This is a big difference, right? And Sarri's just like, no, why he actually spoke to it too, and just said, why would I want to, settle and manage the rest of the game when I can kill it?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's like, I want to kill it, right? And that's just music to my ears. With the talent we have, we should be, right? And
Should
even
be.
this match yesterday, yeah, it's a grind. It's 2-1. Could have easily been 4-1, 5-1. I mean,
Yeah.
even their goal, like I said, we were more concerned with bitching at the ref than just staying locked in on our checks and just locking it down, right? So we still tend to be our own worst enemy, really. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing that, really what teams are getting against us is what we are giving them. You know what I mean? In terms of our own
Yeah.
mistakes or things like that. We've been controlling every single match. Like, for me, so far, I'm incredibly impressed with how the team's gone through this transition into Sarri, because I was a little nervous going into the season. And I've been asking every fan just kind of what their thoughts were coming in and where they stand now. So here we are, middle of October, going into late October. How do you feel so far with Sarri and his performance with Juve?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I think when he got appointed, it wasn't necessarily the best option that we were all hoping for.
Yeah,
And but that was the same under Allegri as well. When he
yeah,
first came, nobody liked him. But he won our hearts, and sorry, I've been very happy. I mean, I think we've
yeah,
done well. We haven't lost a game,
yeah,
and we just I think it's just the defensive side we need to really work on.
yeah,
And he, I mean, for him, it's a challenge in terms of I think this is probably the first time he has this many top players on his team. So him being able to manage all that and who to play and things like that is where it's going to get tougher for him down the year.
yeah.
So hopefully he does it. I mean, I think he's been great. I like what I'm seeing so far. I hope it continues, and I hope we get better.
Yeah, I agree with you on all fronts there. All right. So we got the Champions League match coming up. Locomotive there. We're at home. Yeah, your thoughts going into this one? I mean, nothing's ever really straightforward in
Yeah.
the Champions League. We are obviously heavy favorites against this club, but coming off the international break, a lot of our starters ended up playing against Bologna, but I would suspect Dybala will probably get the start.
Mm.
I haven't heard if Ramsey's fit yet. I heard he was, and then I heard he wasn't. So I'm not too sure. Costa may be available too. So be interesting to see. But I think in this one, I think we take the win.
We have
Oh yeah, like
no
I mean,
other option.
I don't see us dropping this game.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw out a prediction that I say Juve's probably gonna take this one. I'm gonna go 3-0. I went 3-0
Nice.
against Bologna and they let me down, so they're not gonna do it twice in a row. I was on a 3-game streak before that too, man. You want to throw out a
I
prediction for fun, Saeed?
for fun's sake, I'll do it, but I never do predictions
Yeah.
because it just always never comes out right. But I think that I think either like a 2-0, 3-0
Yeah.
will probably be. But I think this should be one of those games where we run up the score line, and that's where you pad your stats and pad your place at top of the table, because you never know at the end of you
I
know,
just think
at
it's
the end, it could be something we count on.
yeah, and I just think, with the tougher teams we played, and like we said, we've still controlled every match. I should say we have controlled, other than Fiorentina. That was just a bad performance. But yeah, we've controlled every match against tougher opposition. I fully expect us to control this one, and yeah, if the guys are going, there'll be goals. I'll say 3-0. It could be more. Who knows? We're gonna wrap up with some fun stuff. Just to finish off, if money was no object, Saeed, who's the one player right now currently in the world you would bring to Juve?
Uh, hmm. Well, I would say, I mean, I would love to have Pogba back. I think we didn't really replace him or Vidal.
Yeah.
I would love to have him back. I think
I
would
got
say either.
I got kits I need to put back into effect, Saeed. So Pogba would be
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, either I would say that or Mbappe. Those,
Mbappe, yeah, yeah. So
those
I'd agree with those
favorites.
two. Mbappe was my pick for sure. Um,
My ideal scenario would be this summer if we, I mean, sorry, this winter if we can pull it off, which I think is probably really complicated, but
Getting
I
Pog
think
back.
seeing United, yeah, I'm seeing United is struggling, and and Pogba's career obviously just went down the drain going there, right? And he's made it no surprise that he wants to leave.
Yeah,
And I think next year is his last year, so I think United has to either sell him this summer, or if he doesn't extend, then he's going to walk away for free.
yeah.
Uh,
That'll never happen. They can't afford that, man. It's like
yeah,
they got to
so.
move him. So
Yeah, so what are they going to do? So definitely, I think in the winter or summer, they're going to make a move for him. I think ideally for them, this deal that I'm thinking for my fantasy would work out really good for them, but it probably won't happen. But I would say it would be nice if we trade Mandzukic, Emre Can, and Rabiot for Pogba. That way, United is getting two midfielders and a
yeah,
forward, and we're just getting our Pogba back. And
yeah,
they pay about the same salary for all three of them. So I think
yeah.
for a team trying to rebuild, and they're like in 14th place or something,
Yeah.
no Champions League, nothing. Hey, take that. Start rebuilding. But I know
The
they probably want to
And the
get
thing
paid for
is
it.
that, that's probably what some other clubs are doing, and Juve's probably one of them, is that they're probably just waiting it out because they know as it gets closer and closer, like Man U's going to be under the wire,
Yes.
and
Uh,
and that value starts to go down, right? Because it's like now we know you're stuck. Like if this guy,
yeah,
imagine a guy like Pogba walking, right? Like it'll never
yeah, yeah,
happen because they got to take something, but that's a that's a risky game. It's risky business to like let that time like kind of go by, right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody knows he wants out too. It's no secret, right? So
Oh, yeah. Rayola. I
Real
was actually
Madrid's big
surprised
on
he
it.
didn't move. Yeah.
So
Rayola said it in the summer. He said everybody knows that he's trying to move Pogba, so it's
yeah,
not a secret at all. So
yeah,
so yeah, the sooner they do it, the better it is for them. And I
yeah,
think this winter would probably be a better option. But teams like United, they want the names and they want the famous players. And honestly, I think for them, it's going to be like if let's say they sold Pogba for some outrageous money, you know, how are you going to convince another midfielder to come to United with the situation that they're in?
yeah,
So I think for them, that's why I think this kind of a deal will probably be, they need to be realistic, would be perfect for them because you're getting two good midfielders in Chan and Rabiot, and that kind of solves our problem a little bit too, right? You get rid of two players that are unhappy about not playing, and Mandzukic, and there you go. I mean, United can have a decent team that can fight to get back, and at the same time, we got Pogba, but
yeah.
it's just fantasy.
Man, that is fantasy. It's a hell of a fantasy, though, man.
Yeah,
I gotta, yeah. Like I say, those jerseys, I'd love to just. I still rock them every now and then, but it'd be a hell of a
yeah,
lot better if he came back home. But apparently he did go back home to Man U. Whatever, whatever. One of your favorite goals Juve scored all
this year.
time. One of your favorite. It
Oh,
doesn't have to be this year. Just one of your favorite Juventus goals.
oh man, I mean,
There's so many. It's tough to just like
so many.
what's
You
one
go
that
back.
still sticks out to you?
I would say like for me, one of the special, memorable ones, and just because of like how important it was, and I'm just trying to put in perspective of the importance, how nice it was, and all that. I would have to say Zaza's goal against Napoli. That
Yeah, it was
Euro in
hell of
2016.
a
Because
hell of a hit.
yeah,
Hell of a hit.
yeah.
No, that's cool, man. And then what's one of your favorite Juventus kits of all time?
Um, that's a tough one too. Well, I mean, I mostly liked a lot of the Nike ones. I
Yeah.
think majority of the Nike kits were nice, and like one of the ones you have in the back right there, the very or
Yeah.
that's I know that's not a Nike, but it's a really nice one. I think, I mean, I would say not picking a stripe one. I would say the gold one from 2008.
Oh yeah.
That
Nice.
was that was a very nice one, and then the same with the black and gold of 2016. That was a really
Yeah,
nice
that
one.
kit was deadly.
Yeah,
That's a deadly kit.
yeah,
No, that's cool, man. Those are some good picks for sure. Kits we've had so many, and like yeah, you like the Nike ones. I was big on the Kappa ones, man. The old
oh
Kappas,
yeah,
like
those,
the,
yeah,
every
yeah,
single one they made was just like a masterpiece, man. Like them and Juve, like for all those years, beauty,
yeah,
beauty.
absolutely.
Do you have any of the new ones this year? This year they've kind of Adidas kind of went a little funny, but to be honest, in person they're actually a lot better than what I thought. And the half and half, it's kind
Yeah,
of it's grown on me. It's funny when the team plays with the black shorts. It's not too bad, and I get the concept when they take their team picture. Be the stripes. I get it.
yeah,
It's grown on me, but the away one and the third kit are actually nice in person. The pictures didn't
yeah,
do it any
yeah,
justice, so I gotta
yeah.
say,
I mean, up close, seeing them, they are nice. The quality is nice and stuff like that. But I think just I don't know, like I can't get myself to get the blue one or the white and red.
yeah,
Um, it just doesn't. I'm not really feeling it, and it doesn't seem like Juve colors at all. I
I
kind of
know.
made fun of it a little bit. I said the blue one looks like the Napoli kit, and
Oh,
the white and red looks like the Poland kit, and it looks like nothing like we've done.
yeah.
And the half and half. Again, the quality is really nice. I'm okay with the front. My problem is the back of it.
It looks
I
like
think,
it's that weird box, right? That just
yeah, that
separates it.
design, I think what they messed up was the back. I think the back, maybe it would have been better if they just left it all black or leave it all
Yeah,
white, or I don't know, like something like I think they came with the design, but then they kind of didn't think of the back and the shorts, and
yeah. The
so
back could have been
yeah,
shored up a little nicer.
yeah, I said this to all our friends. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna buy it this year, but if we win Champions League, I'll buy one of those jerseys.
And
So
it's just so funny because like that's been a little running joke recently. It's just like that. You know what? This would be the year we do it, and it's like the one time they go away from the tradition, and we'll be wearing these half and half things, or we'll be
yeah,
wearing Poland's kit. Like it'll just be something like that. That's so funny. But
I
no, that's
imagine winning
and
Champions
over here
League.
in like the North American side of it, for I don't know how you get it, but when I wear these Juve kits, I always get the ref. Oh, here's the ref. What, right? With the stripes, they're just like, oh, you look like a referee, and I'm just like, get out of here.
Yeah,
Hey,
whatever.
come on. But no, that's funny. All right, man. Well, that's pretty much it, man. I want to thank you for coming on and joining me, man. We tried to
Yeah.
get it together for a while. I know you're a busy guy, but I really appreciate you taking the time, man. This definitely won't be the last time, and I gotta make it down and rock a game with the SoCal Club. I actually got quite a few of them following me, which is awesome, and I've loved the support I'm getting
Nice.
from you guys down there, which is awesome. Appreciate
Yeah.
it. But
Yeah,
yeah,
man, thank you. I mean, I really appreciate all the stuff you're doing too. Like I said, for just growing the interest in Juve, and yeah, I mean, anytime come down, we have quite a lot of our members that listen to your podcast as well. So,
that's
um,
awesome.
but yeah, I mean, definitely, I'll do this again with you. I'll be on now that we did our first one.
Oh
So.
yeah, man.
I'll look forward to it, man. It's a lot of fun. I mean, I used to do the podcast with Farhad some years back, and then I kind of got tired of it and I got busy. But it's always good to talk Juve,
Oh man,
and
it's a
you guys are
blast,
both
man.
doing a great job.
It's a blast. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for all the kind words, and thanks to all the members down there that support me in the podcast. I love it. The feedback's been awesome. The support's been great. We got just like an incredible family that's really developing through this. It's cool, man. Like I wish I would have done it a lot sooner. The idea came to me when I was actually in Turin, because took the stadium tour and stuff, and just met people from everywhere in the world, right? And it was just like awesome. And I got home and I'm like, man, I don't want that to stop, right? And that's where the idea come up. And I was like, oh, you know what? I gotta get. My buddy said, get on Twitter. He's like, that's what usually happens. And then Juve podcast, I got into that, and I was like, man, I'd like to do some, but just have everybody come on and join and just share their opinions, right? But no, that's deadly, man. It's deadly. So yeah, thanks again. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, if you want, this podcast open to all Juventini, so please feel free to reach out and come voice your opinions on everything and anything surrounding Juve, really. And I'll be back after our Champions League match against Lokomotiv, and hopefully that'll be a victory. I don't see why it should be anything else otherwise. It should be straightforward. See how that goes. But thanks for tuning in. And as always, Forza Juve, fino alla fine. Ciao.